How to understand the current ups and downs of the U.S. stock market, thoughts on Trump and his administration team. This is Alpha, a random reflection on the life of an ordinary investor. There are many subjective assumptions and many errors and loopholes. Please point out the direction. The U.S. stock market in 2025 will be different than ever before. Through observation during this period, we can see the rise and fall of the stock market is not entirely driven by the state of economic operation. To a greater extent, the stock market is affected by Trump's policies. As market investors, we have to study and think about Trump himself and his administration team to avoid some policy risks that seem to have no signs but are traceable. There is a deep polarization of opinion about Trump. Some people think that Trump is of low standard, blindly arrogant, and a psychopath. His reckless behavior will lead to his own destruction. If we have such a preconceived notion about Trump, it is easy to oversimplify our thinking and fail to rationally understand the relevant policies of the United States. Thus, the investment role becomes a single-celled organism, missing out on many opportunities. Trump's idea of reshaping the world economic structure is not a whim. In fact, he had this idea a long time ago, and it can even be said that his position is consistent. Trump once said this in 1988. "I'm a big believer in tariffs. America is being ripped off. We are a debtor nation. We have to tax. We have to impose tariffs. We have to protect this country." From his first term to his second term, he has been moving in this direction. His personal behavior makes us think that his policies are arbitrary and capricious. In fact, judging from this year's tariff policy, although he was full of confidence, he was actually not sure about the effect of his policies. His extreme pressure sometimes works, but sometimes it backfires. When it works, they promote themselves loudly and make it seem like they have everything under control. But when it doesn't work, they withdraw as soon as they find something is wrong. Because there is no similar experience to refer to for such a major event as restructuring the world economic structure. Although some researchers have done some theoretical preparation. But the real world is complicated. The human heart cannot be predicted by desk research. You can only take one step at a time and see what happens, and correct it in time when you find that you are about to go astray. Trump said this is a manifestation of flexibility, which is not wrong. It sounds much better than hitting a wall. For example, from the announcement of the reciprocal tariffs on April 2 to the announcement of the suspension on April 9. From 145% tariffs on China to exemptions from high tariffs on some electronics products. We can still find that Trump is not a fool, he knows where the South Wall is. Although he is arrogant, he always carries a small stool with him, which he uses to go down the stairs when needed. Others believe that Trump is the chosen one. Multiple lawsuits have failed to stop him, and the malicious smears from the establishment have failed to discredit him. The series of failed assassination attempts made people believe that he had a God-given mission. All of these will make many people have a trust in Trump that is similar to idol worship, and believe that everything he does is wise. Even if there are some reversals, this is a strategy in the big game, not a mistake. Obviously, worshipping a person is extremely detrimental to investors. Because capital is not pursuing idols, but real interests. Trump is certainly a legend, but he is also immortal and is far from perfect. Among them, the most criticized issue is that his family is involved in some economic activities. For example, in terms of cryptocurrency, he and the First Lady launched their own memecoin, and have previously received large amounts of funding from the cryptocurrency community. In addition, his family is also negotiating some business cooperation with Binance. These actions cannot be divorced from his presidency, although it can be explained as a routine operation under the political game table. But this also proves once again that Trump is not so glorious and correct. These business practices will become the root of his future troubles. In addition, we can also see on the issue of Ukraine. Trump has gone too far on the path of America first. To reduce the burden on the United States and gain more practical benefits. In order to achieve the goal of a quick ceasefire, we can ignore right and wrong and tolerate evil. The current peace talks seem to be rewarding the aggressors, I think this behavior can no longer be explained by trading strategies. Even if this can quickly achieve a ceasefire, it will also encourage the invaders in disguise. This will lay the foundation for greater disasters in the future. Such values are also contrary to the founding spirit of the United States. Trump has all these flaws that people have: greed, arrogance, and profiteering. So how should we view Trump objectively? Due to the limited personal. I can't study Trump from his inner world, I can only understand him from his actual behavior. I regard him as an ordinary person, an ambitious, profit-oriented, shrewd and slick old businessman. Now that we have talked about Trump himself, let's talk about his administration team. Some people think Trump's policies have neither a clear direction nor a thorough plan to implement them. Judging from the diversity of voices of Trump's cabinet members and Trump's own exaggerated behavior, it does give people this feeling. Most of his team members are young people with strong desire for self-expression. So far, the talk we've seen from these people has outweighed their real work. Trump says he is very flexible, but maybe his people are more flexible than him. If one's understanding of his team falls into such a stereotyped impression, one will sneer at Trump's governance level. There are certainly some young people in Trump's team who love to show off. But we should think about why Trump chose them. After his first term, Trump values his subordinates' personal loyalty to him more. These subordinates do not need them to have too much personal opinion, because Trump's own mind is already full of ideas. These subordinates only need to strictly implement Trump's ideas, continue to show their personal loyalty to Trump, and try to avoid making mistakes. Trump is already satisfied. Such a top-down approach to governance is obviously the opposite of the style of the Biden administration team. No matter how smart Trump is, a country's governance strategy cannot be constructed by one person's ideas. So where do these ideas of Trump come from? Or what does the team behind his administration look like? Here we can briefly understand the U.S. 2025 plan. This is a political initiative led by a conservative think tank in the United States. Provide a detailed policy blueprint and implementation plan assuming Trump wins the 2024 presidential election. As a financial channel, why should we talk about these things? Because as an investor, we should know that the market is the result of the interaction of multiple factors. We should study the main influencing factors, instead of following some minor factors or looking at technical analysis indicators to predict the market. Doing so is like seeking fish in a tree. In the new market rhythm, looking for swords on the boat will make us die miserably. The most important factor affecting the market at present is the policy factors of the Trump administration. The huge market fluctuations reveal a huge gap in information understanding between investors and policymakers. At this time, whoever can adapt to the new style of the market in advance will have the upper hand in speculative decision-making. I personally follow the following steps to adjust my understanding of the market. When market changes continue to exceed the original cognitive framework, my investment will be at great risk. At this time, I need to re-examine my cognition, learn and think rationally, and analyze the underlying reasons for market changes. Then use these analysis conclusions to improve your cognitive framework. Verify my judgment through market practice, and then adjust and verify it. Repeat this cycle to improve your understanding of the market. Although the current stock market's rise and fall patterns have undergone major changes, if we dig deeper into the main factors affecting the market, the reasons behind the market's rise and fall will become apparent, and that reason is the relevant policies of the Trump administration. Of course, the policy cannot remain unchanged during implementation. It needs to adapt to reality and correct itself, but its general direction will not change. This makes it possible to understand the market's ups and downs through policy decisions. We can infer when the market will hit the ceiling and when it may be the bottom, and avoid some obvious risks. This is crucial for market investors. Therefore, to understand Trump's policies, we need to understand the source of the policies and the people behind them. Next, I will share the main content of the 2025 project. Okay, let's stop here for now. We will continue next time.